Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the 19th hole. We are live on In Between Media. Like this video, subscribe to the whole damn channel, and jingle that bell for notifications. We have reached the West Coast swing. The PGA Tour has ventured from Hawaii to Southern California in the Coachella Valley for the American Express. It is the credit card. So buckle up. Let's hit the drop. Join us for some shenanigans. Here we are. The gang is back together. Conor was on assignment last week. This week he's under the weather, but he's trooping through. We're going to get this show on the books. I can't thank Jake Perry enough for filling in last week admirably. We had some really good agreements. It was weird how much we agreed on which Canadian was not going to win the the Sony Open at Waialae Country Club. It was Nick Taylor at the end of the day with the eagle hole out on the 72nd hole to force a playoff with your guy, Conor, Nico Echeverria, who I don't think either one of us saw him playing at the Sony like that, but he was there, and he was a little bit unfortunate to watch Nick Taylor eagle 18 to get into that playoff and win. How about clutch Nick Taylor? Conor, I just want to hear from you again, even if your voice is raspy and you're probably sitting on a toilet with an office chair fitting on it.
I don't have that going on, thank God. But yeah, I tried to save the best of my voice for you tonight. So this is about.
I am honored.
But no, it's been a nice break. A lot of things have changed in life. Been busy. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be back. I was not on Mr. Nick Taylor last week. I wasn't on Mr. Echeverria either. I was very heavy invested in JJ Spawn. So I had my own heartbreak going on from about 16 on Sunday.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty good on Sunday with Mav McNeely until he shot the highest round of the day on Sunday and went from top 5 to 43rd. Outstanding work, Mav. Shout out NorCal.
Yeah, if there's one thing I've learned with Mav, it's that Mav will find a way to screw us.
Yeah, a 73 on that golf course, not great. Not great, Bob. Well, we have reached the American Express, which is an official PGA Tour event. It is unique. But before we get into the actual tournament, we have a new segment this season. It's called News Niblick. And if you're a golf fan or just an old-fashioned golfer like the two of us, or just emphasis on old, we know what a Niblick is. It's an old fairway medal that it's just what they called it. They had weird names for all the clubs back then.
I have a Niblick in the garage.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you still put it in the bag every once in a while too.
It might happen.
So let's hit the news Niblick, and we'll touch base on the world of golf. It's in the news. I'm not drinking alcohol for the next couple months, so.
Whoa.
Gatorade it is.
Is this like a court imposed or?
You would think so, but no. It's just a choice. It's not for very long. I'm gonna end my dry period on my birthday in March, so it's not anything like that. It's just a personal choice that I'm gonna try to do a lot of things to get myself into better working shape, and that's part of it.
I admire that. I also am sans beverage tonight, obvious for sickness reasons, but I got my 40 ounce of water right here. So
Oh, pour one out for our boy Conor.
But I will.
Yeah.
I'll do enough drinking for the two of us moving forward. So
Drinking when you're sick is probably the worst you can feel because you already feel like shit, and then it makes it worse.
I woke up this morning and I thought, like, literally my head was imploding. I'm like, dude, did I drink last night? No, no, I sure didn't.
It should have.
I might as well have because this feels worse than a hangover. But here we
Ew, terrible. Well, in the news, let's lead off with what's in the news actually right this moment. The TGL, which stands for something golf league. Is it tomorrow's golf league? The golf league? I'm not sure. They even on their website it just says TGL everywhere. So TGL, Tiger Woods is in there, Rory's in there. A lot of big names are in there, and it's basically professional golfers who are on teams and they play on a simulated golf course in Southern California where they hit into a simulator and then there's a rotating green that changes and they do 15 hole rounds and they do team golf. So it's a lot like live, but not outside. It's in this stupid, amazing state of the art golf facility called the SoFi Center. Really awesome stuff. Have you caught any of the action, Connor?
Yeah, I watched the entire thing. I recorded it last week, so I got home. I watched the entire thing. Uh, I for one am a fan. Like I like it, but I will say like I want to see like some more personalities because like the banter just wasn't quite there. I think it's cool though. Like that format where I think it's 7 or 8 holes. They do 3 ball,
Yeah.
and then they go to the singles, and the match play was a little more intense. Like you could see them kind of like doubling down a
Yeah,
little
and
bit. More
I like
serious.
how they've added some like golf betting elements to it where not like what we do, which is hit the sports books, but like actually betting against another player, your opponent on the course. That's a real thing that happens everywhere, every golf course all the time. And it's kind of like we don't it's taboo on the PGA Tour because they're professionals. They're getting paid to be there and compete. It's like us Joe Schmo weekend hackers, we're betting a couple dollars a hole against people that we just met or against our buddies that we've been playing with for since we were kids. Like it don't matter if you're going out there and putting pencil to the scorecard. There's going to be some skin in the game, and I like that element of TGL because they have terminology like pressing and doing that. I like that part of it. I just think that it's kind of a half ditched kind of effort to bring younger people into golf's atmosphere. And it's not going to really help them get all the way to where these golfers are actually making money on the PGA Tour. I don't think that most of the younger fans of TGL are going to make that leap because of TGL. So I think they have a lot of work to do. But I love the idea, and the technology is really cool. Like that sent, can you imagine a boys' weekend at SoFi Center hitting a simulator all day and drinking, getting absolutely blitzed and hitting balls into a screen? You're in? Yeah, I'm in too. That would be fantastic. I couldn't give two shits what Max Homa does with Kevin Kisner and on Tiger Woods' team, but it's entertaining to watch how advanced the simulator technology has gotten.
Yeah, and I mean there were some highlights from it. I mean, honestly, with Ober draining that like 30+ footer uphill,
Yeah.
like little snaker deal, that was cool. The crowd was super into it.
Yeah.
You can
He's so
see,
handsome.
yeah, and you can see
Mr. Perfect, Ludwig Oberg.
and they're fully leaning into that. Like,
Oh, they should. That's the future of golf right there. That person right there is the future of golf. You lean into the guy with the robot swing and the warm personality, good smile. He's just a generally nice guy, and he's awesome at playing golf. So why wouldn't you lean into that?
yeah, unfortunately, they also attempted to lean into Fitzpatrick, which is just uh, no. And Mr. Personality Xander Schauffele out there, like it just wasn't a great opening night.
I like Xander. I like Xander.
But no,
Yeah, they need to lean in on Max Homa because he's funny as hell.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think the more like comfortable they get, and the more banter that starts happening, all that, I think it's going to really increase the entertainment value. I thought the celebrities there were kind of cool. They were doing. I mean, it felt like a sporting event, which was cool. So
Yep.
not a bit. I've done dumber shit on a Tuesday night than watch the TGL. So
Absolutely.
I watched
Like
this
what? I know that should tell you everything you need to know. The other news tidbit, of course, is Nick Taylor's win at the Sony Open. Congrats to Nick Taylor on win number 5. Pretty unassuming stretch of really good golf for Nick Taylor. This dude is Mr. Clutch, tough as nails. He is exactly what you want in a competitor, especially when the conditions get tough. Like Sony Open 16 under winning score, that was a lot worse than people thought it was going to be. So Nick Taylor going out there in tough conditions and making hay. So props to Nick Taylor. Will he parlay that success into the American Express with a little bit tougher field? Even without Xander Schauffele, who is dropped out of the Amex this week. There's still plenty of great golfers here. It's for some reason the John Rahm lamenting how much it's a putting contest despite winning the damn thing. It's a pretty entertaining tournament with an interesting outlay or layout format, whatever you want to call it. It's the second show of the year, guys. I am falling apart already. This is not going great, Connor.
I'm getting used to the new digs, and like I've got like a new setup here too. So I'm like trying to like it's fine. We're learning. We're doing it on the fly.
You're doing great, Connor.
Thank you.
What do you say we jump right into caddy notes, and you can tell me about all 3 golf courses here?
Oh God, that I don't know if it's going to be as entertaining as you think it should be.
I doubt it will be. All right, Connor. Since this tournament is in the Coachella Valley, I need you to put some flowers in your hair and let it rip.
I will be doing no such thing. But La Quinta, California, the American Express. We got 3 courses in play here. So full field event. Everybody's going to play each of the 3 courses once. We'll have a cut after 54 holes Saturday night. And we'll move on to Sunday where players will play the stadium course for the second time. So like Bo alluded to, you got 3 courses this week. Pete Dye Stadium course, like I said, we'll be on that one twice. You got the La Quinta Country Club, Nicholas Tournament course. The Dye is going to be running around par 72, about 7,180-ish yards. They've done a couple of box adjustments, a couple of green adjustments, but nothing catastrophic to how it plays. La Quinta, you're going to be around par 72, about 70-60 on the yardage. Nicholas course, par 72 as well. You're going to be looking at 71.59 and some change over there on yardage. All of these guys are going to be Bermuda. All of them are going to have some overseed this time of year, mostly a little bit of rye. I think the thing to know about all 3 courses, none of them are terribly difficult. The rough's pretty manageable. It really is like positional approach style golf. The thing that if there's anything to keep players in check this week, there's about 90 plus bunkers everywhere you look on every single course. There's a fair amount of water in play, even though we're in the desert. But other than that, I mean, it's a relatively straightforward course. We're going to have really tame weather here, which should keep the scores high. I don't recall anything that stood out in my mind as being terribly difficult from this last year. The one thing that has been kicking around a little bit is some of the renovation and lengthening over at the stadium course could bring in a little more around the green play, a little more scrambling, just because we're going to be messing with some of the approach yardages. But all in all, these are short courses. I mean, these are
short and easy, straightforward, and really, for me, it comes down to I have a triple underline with birdie or better percentage.
Exactly.
Like if you're not running your model with the heaviest of heavyweights on birdie or better percentage, you're not going to have a good time at the American Express because you can go and dive in with some streaky putting, like go like last 12 to 24 rounds on putting on Bermuda. That's what I did to kind of narrow it down to birdie makers who are also putting well right now. But the rest of this course is so straightforward and short that all these guys are going to be hitting the ball in the fairway. They're all going to be hitting out of short rough or fairway or even fairway bunkers. Who cares? It's from 100 to 150 is the approach distance bucket that covers 2/3 of the approaches here. All the par fives are reachable. All the par fours are pretty reachable with a short iron. And the par threes have a little bit of challenge to them, but if you make a par on a par three and you move on and you score on all the other holes, you're sitting pretty. This is going to be a course that lets them score as many birdies as they can possibly make, and whoever is the best at making those birdies will eventually win. And it doesn't even matter what archetype of golfer they are. We've seen all sorts of different guys win here. It's just who's hot right now and who can execute on 3 different golf courses over 4 days. I mean, am I missing anything, Connor?
No, I think you pretty well got it. And like I said, I don't think the 3 of them are tremendously different from one another. I think if you had to,
they're very similar.
I mean, La Quinta is probably the easiest, and then Nick, and then the stadium course is, I guess, the most difficult. But
yeah, and it's not though. It's like it's crazy how they designed it almost to be an exact replica of Sawgrass, and yet it's 6 shots easier than Sawgrass. So that tells you that this course is ripe for the picking.
Yeah, I would totally expect to see something high 20s win this. I mean,
I'd say 30 is pretty in play.
Yeah, I especially with the way the weather is shaking out to be. I mean, there's just not an ounce of wind, and there's
if it takes 35 to win at Kapalua, we're looking at 30-31 at this place.
How wild is that? 35. Golly.
I thought we had it with Morikawa shooting the tournament record and losing by 3. What is wrong with America?
I haven't been able to victory lap much with you yet so far, but I've been doing all right.
I know. Year. I've been doing fine too, but that broke my heart.
Oh well.
All right. What do you say we drop the new Club Twirls drop, which features both of us, and we bet on some golf?
One of these weeks, we're gonna have to get a poll going to see who's got the better swing. I will say yours is yours is longer. We might need to slow mine down.
Yeah. Yours is quick.
Always.
So pretty. Both of those swings are damn good.
It's almost like we've played before.
Yeah, a few times.
Nice calves, by the way.
I know, that's my friend Joe that was filming. Bo, nice calves at the end of that video. It's just funny because he wasn't watching the fucking mammoth drive I hit at altitude on that hole. Downhill, what I'm aiming for is an oak tree that's down at the bottom of the hill. It's like 300 out, and I carried it to that, and it bounced all the way down to the in front of the green on a 370-yard hole, and I just tanked that thing. And we're at 7,000 feet at Lake Tahoe, so it just kept going and going and going, and it was like, of course, that's the one I record. It's like, yeah.
Like damn right. Now growing up,
did you see the club twirl? The club twirl into the sheath. That's like I twirled it into the sheath. That's a club twirl.
I mean, if anybody's going to tell us how wonderful you are, it's going to be you every time.
Every time. All you have to do is agree with me.
I miss elevation. Growing up in Colorado, playing high school golf in Colorado, I remember hitting some bombs. I do not hit the ball that far in South Dakota.
No. Stat Paddington over here.
Yeah, I'm lucky to drive at about 260 nowadays.
Yeah, that's still a good poke. I mean, the average drive is still only like 200 yards, so people can posture all they want, but they're lying.
200 straight, 60 dead left.
That's facts. All right, top of this board has changed since Monday when Xander Schauffele dropped out. We've gotten a little bit of a shuffle down. Favorite now is plus 1200 Sung J M. We have Justin Thomas at 14. Sam Burns from 20 down to 16 now. Patrick Cantlay at 18 and Tony Finau at 22. Is there anybody you're betting on in this top group?
I've got some interest in Burns.
Me too. What a great start. What a great start to the season.
Well, wrap it up. We're good to go.
That's it. We're done. No more 35 straight weeks. We're going to call it right now with 100% match rate.
Going out on top. With Sam Burns, like I think just kind of like recent form. He's been playing a lot of really good golf. I think where he kind of got off track at the Century with his approach game, that's not typical for him. It was the first time in six starts that he actually lost strokes on approach. Still finished 8th. The putter has been on fire with that, the exception of the Tour Championship where he lost a little less than a stroke. But other than that, the putter's been great. The approach game's been great. It's really, really hard to poke a hole in his game. And it's just Sam Burns. We all know that Sam Burns can get super hot and just birdie after birdie after birdie. And I think he's going to.
I was looking for. I believe when I ran my model, he was very good at the birdie making. That's
what they tell me.
Yeah, Sam Burns. He's number 39 in this field for birdies or better gain, but he's top 10 in just about every other category. So that's still really good.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting though is like if you look at over the last like 36 rounds, like really recent with Sam Burns, his birdie or better rate jumps up to 3rd in this field. So of this top tier, I mean, there's really nobody up here in the top end that's anywhere near him in terms of the stat layout. Sung Jae is close, but like frankly, Sung Jae just is not good from the shorter proximity ranges, and there's a lot of here.
And that's what surprises me. He's 137th from 0 to 150 on approach. What? That's not good.
That's not great.
And just even in general approach, 96th.
Yeah, I don't understand Sung Jae being the favorite here. I just really don't. There's nothing that stands out to me about him.
He's not even playing that well right now.
No, I mean, I think you got to have somebody, right? So maybe he's just the default. But
is JT good enough to win a putting contest with the way he's putting? Everything else looks good, but are we worried about JT putting in a putting contest like this? I am.
I worry about JT in a course that doesn't demand any kind of distance off the tee. Like JT having to be precision not only off the tee but also on approach and have the putter come along for the journey. Like I like JT where distance is a little more at a premium. I think it gives him a little more margin for error. I don't like an accuracy type of tournament for him, which this really kind of is.
It really is. Yeah, I'm looking at the same thing you are. When I ran my model, the only person in the top 10 in my model in that there's only one guy in that's shorter than 40 to 1 that's in the top 10 in my model, and that is Sam Burns. Yikes. That's crazy, actually. I don't think that's ever happened.
Actually, no, I'm just looking at mine one more time, but yeah, that's same for me. And Sam Burns actually isn't even there in my, like, there's 2 models I ran. I'm looking at the like main one I use, and he's still just outside of the top 10. So
yeah, Burns is 5th in mine, and then Cantlay's 13th, JT's 14th, Sung Jae's 17th. But for their odds, I'm not touching that. That's not good enough. If you're getting short odds, I want you in the top 5, if not the top 10 at least in my model. That's just it's crazy, but I have a feeling we're going to get some long shot contenders this week. So what are you okay with skipping into the? I mean, I'll go down the line here. Tom Kim, hyperinflated at 28-1. Max Grazerman been playing really well, but 30-1 might be short for him. Kurt Kitayama, same kind of thing, playing well lately, but 30-1 is a pretty short number for our boy from Chico, California.
So I do like Gracerman.
Yeah.
I also I actually would make an argument for Kitayama here.
Yeah.
And, and so there's something that's interesting about Kitayama over the last probably 6-7 starts.
He figured something out.
And it's namely his putter. And I wrote that up in the article that'll come out later tonight or tomorrow. When he last teed it up at the Sony, he, for once in since July, actually didn't lose strokes putting. What was interesting was, for the first time since July, he lost strokes on approach. But if you look at the last 3 starts prior to the Sony, I mean, this is a guy that was gaining no less than 6.5 strokes on approach, but was hemorrhaging strokes putting. Yep. So let's just say he's one of those players we talk about where if everything is firing on all cylinders and he just comes even with the putter,
he's a top 30 player in the world in that case.
Yeah, which in this field means that he's very, very live to win. So I really have a lot of interest in Kitayama this week because I think that approach game bounces back, and I think that putter stays, as warm as it gets for him.
And tee times have been announced, so he is a sneaky first-round leader candidate at La Quinta for his first round.
And he's back home in California area. I mean, these are courses that he knows. This is conditions, and it's just everything kind of points towards him this week, especially, like I said, having a little bounce back at the Sony with his putter. I think there's a little confidence gain there. I really like Kitayama here, and you don't hear me get on the soapbox for Kitayama often.
Yeah, not more than me, that's for sure. Let's see here. Going down here, I do have a little bit of interest in Kitayama, especially as first round leader. Wyndham Clark is Seth Woolcock's favorite. I don't understand it. 30-1 is a decent number for Wyndham Clark, but can he make enough birdies? That's my concern with Kitayama, is he's not traditionally a birdie making machine. But neither is Wyndham Clark. Wyndham Clark is streaky. But other than being a great putter, what has he done lately?
Well, and Wyndham Clark right now, over the last 36, is ranked 115th in overall approach, and that actually gets worse as you get closer. So I think, and the other thing I traditionally don't like about Wyndham Clark is he's not a very prolific scorer on par fives, and on a short course like this, I get that they get a little more equalized, but it still doesn't sit well with me that he statistically just doesn't perform on a par 5. You're going to have to be taking lock and trying to get eagles on these par 5s. You got to make sure you're walking away with a birdie. And to your point, Wyndham Clark doesn't make them in bunches traditionally. And really, he's not even giving himself good approach shots, good looks at making under par. So not a fan.
All right, so we going down. This next group, I know you're going to have some interest in. Siwoo Kim, 35. Cam Young, 35. Davis Thompson, 35. Harry Hall at 40. Interesting.
Love
Dunlap, yeah, he's a birdie making machine, that boy. Nick Dunlap and Will Zalatoris at 50. Very interesting lines there. And then Straka, Griffin, who I'm interested in, Fishburne, who everybody's interested in, Nico's got the shortest odds of all time at 55, JT Poston, JJ Spawn, and let's just wrap it up with the 60 group, Harmon, Cole, and Hoagie at 60-1. That group is massive. That group's got lots of potential. I'm not sure how many guys I'm actually going to be able to fit on my card from that group, but a couple of them do pique my interest. Who do you like?
So I'm all over Harry Hall. I can't.
Yep.
Wrote him up last week. Loved everything about him. I continue to like him here even more. We are getting shorter odds than we had last week on him, but the guy just continues to knock at the door every time he tees it up. So to your point, he's number one in this field in birdie or better rate. The approach game's been great as of late. And the other thing to like about him from an approach standpoint is the shorter approach buckets are actually what inflate his stats a little bit. Like, he's not a great approach player, but the more rounds he's getting on these shorter approach courses, the better he's doing, and that just goes in tandem with, like I said, he's a good short iron player. So
He's
this
a
makes
masterful short game too.
great. Yeah, it's just everything about this is a better situation than even last week. So I'm not going to jump off of him yet.
So I have a really tough toss up here. I don't want to bet on both of these guys, but I want you to weigh in. I have to flip a coin between Ben Griffin and JJ Spawn.
Spawn.
That's what I thought. So Ben Griffin shows up at number 6 in my model, number 1 in putting, number 1 in short game. The rest of the stats are pretty okay, but Spawn, red hot. Number 8 in my model, 3rd in tee to green, 8th in ball striking, and 15th on approach. That's solid for a guy at 55 to 1. Teeing off at La Quinta at 1020. That's another interesting first round leader at La Quinta that we could be looking at. So you're definitely on with Spawn over Griffin.
Yeah, I'm back in on Spawn. Loved Spawn last week. Almost came to fruition for us. He's still rating out number 1 in my model. Spawn's just sneaky weird, right? Like, number 10 in this field for birdie or better rate. I would have never guessed that Spawn flexes on birdies like that. And he's number 1 in overall approach. Again, he's another guy that number gets even better when you start looking at the shorter ranges. Everything I loved about him last week translates over to here, so I'm going right back to him.
Yeah, he's one of those short course specialists that if you get him on a big boy course, he kind of falls back. But this little stretch of time before we hit the big boy courses, this is where JJ Spawn keeps his tour card every year. It's what he does. Let's see, going down. Anybody else in that range that you're going to be betting on? Willie Z, defending champion Nick Dunlap, 50 to 1 is crazy for how good he is.
Yeah, Dunlap's the one that he's not on my card right now. I'm kicking it around. The things that are scary about Dunlap, he's not super well. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. He's not a good putter.
No.
And he has a tendency to throw up a big number more frequently than a lot of these guys.
He plays so aggressively.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem here. Is like, it's not a hard course, but you can't be giving any back either. Like, you got to keep pace.
No,
so a little
pars
scared.
are bad enough.
Willie Z, I don't like him here. I'm going to have a lot of Willie Z this year, but this doesn't seem like a Willie Z track to me.
No.
And then Eric Cole. So I jumped on Eric Cole, I think a little early, and I think it paid off for me last week. 60 to 1. Again, he's another dude that fit in my model and fit in my mind what we were looking for last week. I think we come here, and I think in a lot of ways these are easier setups for him. So I think he keeps rolling here, and he's a guy that, he's not so far removed from rookie of the year. I mean, this guy is a very good golfer that often gets lost in the shuffle. So
yeah, I'm with you on Eric Cole. I don't know how much I'll bet on him, but he's a volatile guy. Like, he's sometimes playing really well, and then other times you're like, what happened to Eric Cole? How many times have we said that the last couple of years since his rookie of the year campaign? Is like, what the hell happened to Eric Cole? We don't know. But at the same odds as Tom Hoagie, who's getting a lot of steam for some reason, I'm going to save my Tom Hoagie love for Pebble Beach in a couple weeks.
Agreed.
Mac Meissner, 65 to 1 is really interesting. Keith Mitchell, not touching him until we get to Florida. Jason Day at 65 right now. Cam Davis at 70, interesting on this course. Novak and Hadwin at 70. Hadwin, I was on him last week. I think I was just a week early. Adam Hadwin's live right here at 70 to 1 with his putting ability. Any interest in any of those guys?
Meisner's coming out 4th in my model. I haven't pulled the trigger on him yet. Again, another guy that just is a little volatile, especially with the putter, especially with the propensity to give back some strokes here and there. So I'm thinking about it because we know he can get really, really hot. And the approach game is pretty good. He's 7th in this field. So Meisner, I might come back around to, but Mitchell, I'm with you. Florida, maybe. Jason Day, no interest. Yeah. Hoagie, I'm with you. Pebble's calling his name, so we'll hit
Yeah.
him then.
Uh,
Hadwin, you mentioned Hadwin. Hadwin scares me. I think this is a course that
he
makes sense
should.
for Hadwin,
Yeah.
but
He
like,
should.
dude, his approach game is so bad right
Ooh,
now.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. He's a scary pick, but man, what a great putter. And if he can get himself in position, he can make noise here, 70-1. I'm interested to see what Michael Thorbjornsen looks like after WDing last week with a knee injury. But somebody who's been slipping has been Daniel Berger. And this array of courses is it's got Berger written all over it. And this is a guy who's as talented as it gets at making birdies, but he does give them back on the big boy courses. Again, this is a guy who fades on longer courses, but on a place like this, I think Daniel Berger's live, and he's opened at 70-1. He's already slipped to 75-1. I think I'm going to make a pretty sizable bet that Daniel Berger shows us who he can be this season, starting this week.
Yeah, I love him as a big bet for the year.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think Berger falls in the same camp as Kitayama in terms of, is he going to be able to make enough birdies to keep up? Like, that's probably the great unknown.
Yes.
And we're in contrast to Kitayama, because I think in a lot of ways there's some similarities. Like, in contrast, Kitayama's kind of on a run right now where he is popping on birdies, whereas Berger, he's in the top 30 in the field for birdie or better rate. So it's not to say that he can't get hot.
Yeah, with my filter on, he's number 4 in birdies, number 1 in ball striking, number 1 in tee to green, number 1 in approach, and number 4 on par fours. So Daniel Berger's number 1 in my model. I'll give that away right now. Just exposing my model has Daniel Berger at number 1. How crazy is that?
That is crazy, but like I said, I really like him for the year. So I mean, start early on him. I think he's going to do big things this year. I like what we were starting to see out of him last year, even. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it.
All right, going down the list, who do you like between 75 and 100?
I have a pretty small card this week, so I'm not gonna lie to you. There's not a lot down there that I'm like in love with. There's um, a lot of unknown names at the bottom that you could throw a buck or two at, that have, like, one start on tour or stuff like that. A lot of young guns.
Yep.
So if you want to pepper a bunch of 200, 300 guys with a buck or two here and there, like, I don't think that's a horrible thing to do.
I got
Uh,
one of those guys.
But I'm pretty much calling it quits at Lucas Glover at 80-1.
Okay. Yeah.
I was on
Glover's
him,
pretty high in mine too.
and I was on him last week, and I thought he didn't disappoint. He did pretty nicely for me in DFS too. So I'll go back to Glover. I can't make a super compelling argument other than his approach game's been great.
Yeah.
And
He
the
can't putt. He cannot putt, but
he
he's
can't
he's
putt.
he's good everywhere else.
But the nice thing is he's number 4 in opportunities gained. So I mean, he's sticking it
Mhm.
close enough. He's
Oh
also like,
yeah.
he's surprisingly curtailed some of the 3 putting. So I mean, the putting's not great, but I mean, it's definitely not as bad as it could be.
Yeah,
So
he's number 3 in my model. Number 2 is the guy, our guy, the Willow Branch himself, Eric
maybe
Van Rooyen at 100-1. I'm doing it. It talked me out of Eric Van Rooyen at 100-1, despite being number 2 in my model and birdies are better gained.
I'm gonna let you do what you want to do with EVR.
He will find water. We
Yeah,
can we can guarantee that the Willow Branch will find water. But will he drink it? Is the question. At
he,
100-1, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna put $5-10 on him and let it ride.
yeah. I like the number more than I like the guy, I think.
Yeah.
but
Out
but
there in
no,
his mustache and joggers.
dude, he got hot at a couple points last year. So I
Yep.
mean, let's see what he's made of. 100-1. It's not a bad bet.
Yeah. And my deep shot at 300 to 1. Chris, don't call me Ace Ventura. Chris with a K. He opened at 400 to 1. I'll take credit for his number moving to 300 to 1 since I talked him up on the Betting Pros podcast. So yeah, pat myself on the back for killing 100 to 1 odds on a guy who might make the cut. But ironically, he does have 20 measurable rounds in the parameters that I filtered for, and he's number 1 in this entire field in birdies or better gained, and top 20 in putting and short game, number 5 on par fours. I think Chris Ventura is a little sleeper cell here. Nobody's really heard of him. He's a talented player. A lot of top 5 finishes on Korn Ferry Tour despite not winning.
We have bet Ventura before.
I know. And so Chris Ventura, 300 to 1. And after this is published, I wouldn't be surprised if his odds continue to get shorter, but it's still a deep shot. It's still a big bet. On these types of bets, though, look at the top 20 line. Look at the top 40 line. The top 20 line is still at plus 800, I think. Just to make top 20, like surprise guy, you get paid 20 to 1. That's better than the favorites odds. If you're gonna bet outright on Sung JM, you might as well just throw a top 20 on Chris Ventura for better odds.
Fair enough.
Why not? Hey, what's the line, Connor? I've done dumber shit with $1.
Yeah, that's for sure. What do you think? Did you see our boy Blades Brown down here? Doesn't even have a profile picture. You just got to bet him because of his name.
Yeah.
What do you think about Frankie Capin?
Who?
Yeah. I thought you might say that.
He's the guy that makes the cannolis down at the deli, right?
So he's plus 12,000. If you look at him, he looks like he's in high school. I've heard of Blades Brown because the name is big in the golf circles. It's a guy named Blades who's a professional golfer, and he plays blade irons, of course. Well, I'm talking about Frankie Capin.
Yeah.
Capin. Now.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I know. So as I was dumpster diving down here, I'd never heard of him either, but he played at the Sony Open and apparently is quite the putter. Gained almost 4 strokes putting. US Open last year, gained 4 strokes putting. Played the 3M in 23, gained almost 6 strokes putting. Managed to finish 45th at the Sony last week. Has some questionable approach metrics. But
so he's another Taylor Montgomery, basically.
That's what I think. That's exactly where I was going with this. Yeah. So I might throw a couple shekels on him. I one of the guys that I was diving down here, and I was like, "Can I make a correlation to somebody who has popped for us before?" So there you go. I always throw some random ass shit in, and I got to be on brand. I got to be on brand.
All right, who's going to win this thing, and what will be the score?
Whew, I will let you go first, sir.
I'm going to say that Sam Burns is going to win at 29 under par.
I'm going to say Harry Hall gets it done, and I'm going to say it's 28.
All right. You heard it. You got the hat ready?
I don't have the hat ready. I wasn't sure. Oh,
no.
So many format things have changed this year. I wasn't sure.
That's okay. We'll get the hat ready for what is this?
I don't know.
Abe Lincoln?
Should I know?
Abraham Answer?
Should I? I don't. Well, now I feel stupid.
I don't know. Let's say the problem is we have a lot. Tim is. I knew Tim was going to chime in here. I was waiting for Tim. Tim, we promise he will have it for the Farmers next week at Torrey Pines. It's a big tournament with all the big names back. Torrey Pines will have the hat.
The hat will come back. It's new. It's new. Everything's new. So we'll bring the hat back. Maybe we'll get the hat a drop this year.
All right. You ready? We're gonna sign out here. Join us next week for the Farmers at Torrey Pines, one of the most beautiful places in the world. Tiger's Place. We're going to have a good time over there. Staying in SoCal. Are you going to be there, Conor?
Yeah, right.
All right.
I'll bring the hat next week, though. I promise the hat will be here. We'll get things back on track.
From Conor Coughlin in South Dakota, Bo McBrayer here from Northern California. Shout out.
NorCal.
Join us next week in Between Media. Like, subscribe, jingle that bell. Join us next week.